A very good afternoon to all of you. Whenever I'm traveling from one city to another city, I usually prefer a window seat, whether it's a plane, a train, or a bus. I always want to be on the window seat. One time I was late, I was traveling by flight, so I came late and I already booked my window seat. There was a 5-year-old kid who was sitting on my seat. I went close to him. On his head, I did knock knock. He looked at me, so I told him, my seat, get up. So his mother tells like, small kid, leave him. So like I told him, no, I booked this seat. After half an hour, I'll give it to you. So he's like, come beta, come and sit. He was in the middle. I sat in the window seat and the plane took off. The reason why I love a window seat is just to enjoy that 5-6 minutes in a flight. When you are going above, all you're looking how the city looks. And let me tell you how the city of Hyderabad basically looks. After getting at a certain altitude, I could see the city of Hyderabad was not so beautiful. It was very dirty. Somewhere in the one corner, I could see there were congested homes. Small homes were there. They were congested. There was a huge traffic that was present. Right in the center of the city, there is a river that is flowing. And this river, it basically divides the city into two halves. The old city, where we have got the heritage, etc. And the other side of the river is a newer part of a city. So one part was the old city, the another was a new city. When I look further ahead, after going at a more altitude, I could see one part of the city was very well developed. High-rise buildings were present. It was the Gachibowli area, the high-tech city that was looking. Now what I started to enjoy is, at one point of time, I was able to look at the complete Hyderabad city. And east to west, north to south, the complete Hyderabad was visible in one glance. This particular view is called to be as a aerial view. In your life, you might have seen aerial views, maybe from a 10th floor, maybe on sitting on a giant wheel. Have you ever sat on a giant wheel? At the top of a giant wheel, something happens in your tummy, no? Something is happening, but you tend to enjoy how the city looks. I was looking at an aerial view, and this is what exactly UPSC is all about. The subject of sociology, or more broadly, if I am talking about UPSC, it wants you to always create aerial views. If you're studying a subject, economy, polity, history, optional subjects, we always need something called as an eagle opinions, aerial views, a broad understanding. The reason why I'm highlighting this point is because all of you are coming from different backgrounds. Some of you might be engineers over here, some of you might be doctors, some of you might be BCom, BSc, IITians, whatever. The UPSC doesn't want to give any certain set of students advantage. They want to create an equal playing field. Everybody should be equally in the race. And that is the reason 10-11 years back, they disqualified CSAT and they only made it like a qualifying paper. Earlier, CSAT was a scoring paper. Later on, they disqualified it and they only made it like a qualification paper. And today, UPSC doesn't want any kind of a speciality. If you see around, whatever backgrounds that you are coming from, you always tend to create some specialization. If you have done BSc, you are a specialist in that domain. If you have done engineering, you are a specialist in that domain, but UPSC is not at all interested in your specialty. If the panel wants somebody who is good at polity, they are conducting a separate exam who are studying only law. If the UPSC, they want somebody who is a very good at history, they have created certain departments who are historians, who are geographers, who are economists. The position what you are trying to strive is not for a specialist, but rather it is of a generalist. The reason why you study general studies is because you are trying to take a position of a generalist. The position that you will be placed tomorrow, every department that you are going to enter, that department is going to have a hierarchy. And where will you be in this hierarchy? Will you be over here? Will you be over here? No. This is where you belong, and from this position, you always need what? Aerial views. To control a department, to know exactly what is happening in your city, you tend to develop this perspective. So one humble request to you is, stop Googling everything. Stop following every channel now and then. Stop using Instagram, Chat GPT for your UPSC preparation. I'm not telling do not use your smartphones, but use your smartphone like a smart person. You are reading 2-3 lines, one word comes up in the middle, you stop reading, you go to the Google, you search the definition, you again come back, you are lost after 5-10 minutes. What you need to understand is, you do not have to gain any kind of a specialty. Just keep on reading, keep on reading. Many times you don't know the definition of a word, but you understand what is the context that is happening over there. So here, we begin our today's class by speaking. Sociology, the beginning. And in my today's session, I will be taking my lecture into 3 parts. The first part, I will be again talking about the scope of the subject called sociology. What is the purpose of it? A small revision we'll be doing. After that, we will be talking about some historical examples, some historical scenario which speaks about why did this subject come into existence. What was happening in the world that led to the emergence of this subject. So some historical events are responsible for the birth of sociology. So I say emergence of sociology, or I say the word birth of sociology. That is one. And in the last part, I will be mentioning about what is thinkers all about. So what is the purpose of this subject? As yesterday we were discussing, the society around us is complex. Why is it complex? Because you as one individual, you are playing so many different roles. Right now in this class, you are playing a role of a student. Right after this class, you will take another role. You will be taking the role of a peer group, a friend. After going to home, you will take another role of a family member. You are a devotee, you are a person who is a buyer or a seller. There are so many different roles that we are playing. This society is a complex phenomena. The subject is having a responsibility to untangle this complexity. And from this, we try to understand one institution. We focus on what these institutions are all about. So, one important purpose is basically to understanding of complex society. You take out one thread, you associate, okay, this is belonging to one specific institution, and that institution is nothing but called to be as economic institution. This particular institution will be called to be as a religious institution. It is called to be as a tech institution. So we study these institutions. So we are untangling the complex nature of society. Another important function is individuals are not easy to understand. At one point of time, we create one opinion, but later on, we go opposite to our opinions. Yesterday when I asked you, what do you think about corruption? You told me, no sir, corruption is wrong. But when I asked you, telling it wrong, have you ever been a part of a corrupt society? Everybody will tell yes. What do you think about dowry? Most of you will say no. But tomorrow when the situation comes, you will be a part of dowry system. Sociology has also got a responsibility of understanding of individuals. You have to understand the individuals, and we also believe in creating new perspectives. The scope of sociology is to build up new perspectives. For example, when we look at a crime, and when we study the crime will be interpreted in a lot of different views. So, crime, corruption, suicide, there are multiple different phenomena where we are going to build some new dimensions to understand. So here we try to create some new dimensions. We understand individual as a form of social construction. We understand the complex society. We are here to know, to predict, to control the society. This line was basically given by the father of sociology. His name was Auguste Comte. Moreover, the subject is also having a responsibility of creating policies, schemes, governance. It is also having an important role in today's world where there is a high level of globalization and a diversified societies. So, one aspect is of scope. Now, all of you believes in science. And science says we have not been produced from God. Science says that today, if we are multicellular organism, some millions of years back, we were present like some simple multicellular. Before that, the life started from a single cell. That is what the theory of evolution says. Charles Darwin, he says at one point of time, we were present like a unicellular organism. And as slowly the time kept on passing, we moved from unicellular and we went to multicellular. These multicellular organisms, they further kept on evolving, and over here, at some point of time, different animals were produced. And among these animals, we were having some animals which were called to be as the primates. What is meant by primate? Which animals are called as primates? Apes, chimpanzees, monkeys, to be more simple. From these primates, a further evolution kept on moving, and from here we get to see different stages were produced, and finally the stage came which was called to be as Homo sapiens. Here, the end of the scale is a modern human being. But I want you to understand where the subject of sociology actually stands in these time zones. A subject which specifically deals with the unicellular, multicellular organism is a subject of biology. And from these multicellular, when the further evolution keeps on happening, animals, primates, etc., this particular subject is basically called to be as a person who deals with biology is called as a biologist. A person which deals with naturism is called as a naturist. Charles Darwin was basically called as a naturist. From here, after the arrivals of the apes, primates, when we further go ahead, till the evolution of Homo sapiens. This particular subject, it basically deals and it is called to be as anthropology. What is the definition of anthropology? Those science which deals with the evolution of Homo sapiens. So at the time when they were present as chimpanzees, apes, when the further evolution happens, they are called to be as Neanderthals, Homo erectus, etc. And the last is that comes is Homo sapiens. And here, when I draw the line of Homo sapiens, the history is present from 10,000 BC, 5,000 BC, 500 AD. And here, I will talk about as 21st century. The subject matter of anthropology starts from here, primates. It keeps on going till it forms as Homo sapiens, 10,000 BC, the earlier Stone Ages, the Bronze Ages, etc. All this is associated with the field of anthropology. But after one point of time, the human beings have started to evolve at a much faster pace. And here, somewhere around 1500 AD till 21st century, in these 500 years, the human beings have evolved at a much faster pace. You take a look at the last 25 to 30 years. Look at the way how the things have evolved around you. Have you used a landline in your life? Have you used a landline? A wired, etc. I have seen many students who have never used a landline in their life. Have you ever used a pager? Have you ever heard of a word called as pager? Pager, it is something that is only used for sending SMS. Today we are having mobile phone to make a voice call. Before phones, there was something called as pagers. So you get a message on a pager, it says call me. So you go to a nearby STD, ISD, PCO, there was phone booths. Over there you see the message call me. So from whoever received it, you call on their office on their numbers. In Pushpa, yeah, he had that, something like a pager. If you look at the change that is coming in and around the society, there is a drastic change that came in the last 30 years. And if you take the aerial view, all these modernity and changes have actually happened in the last 400 to 500 years only. Before that, when we're talking about the stages, here, when you're talking about the stages, here, since the formation of Homo sapiens in around 10,000 BC up till 1500 AD, the changes has been very slow, or even we can say it was absent for many decades or many centuries. But these last 1500 years, in this from 1500 till 21st century, in these last 500 years, the changes have been so drastic that the societies have completely evolved and they have very much transformed. Therefore, the subject matter which is dealing in the last 500 years, basically that subject matter is basically called to be as sociology, and before that, the subject that deals, it is called to be as anthropology. So, on a time zone basis, when we look at different subjects, the subject basically started as a form of a biology. Later, it moves towards naturism. Then it goes towards anthropology. And from 1500 AD till 21st century, these last 500 years, the changes have been so drastic that anthropology comes to an end. So a subject which deals with a primitive man, a subject which deals with a primitive man is called as anthropology, and a subject which deals with a modern man is called as sociology. So, what is the history? Are we interested in? Are we interested to see what is happening 5,000 years back? What were the humans or human societies were doing at the time of Bronze Age, Stone Age, etc.? The answer is clear-cut, no. In what part of the history are you going to be interested is last 500 years. And in these 500 years only, all the major changes have happened, and that is what becomes the foundation or the essence of the subject of sociology, and that led to the emergence or the beginning of this era. Basically, the first unit, it says modernity and the social changes in Europe which led to the emergence of sociology. So today, I will be speaking about what exactly do we understand by the word modernity and how did modernity come. But before we begin, can you tell me what is modernity? What is modernity? Change. Okay, so you're telling me change is modernity. Sheikh Hasina ran, Bangladesh is undergoing a change. So do you call that as modernity? Taliban takes over in 2020. In Afghanistan, Taliban takes over as the government. There is a change that has happened. Gaza is undergoing a lot of change, isn't it? Gaza is going under a lot of change. Can you say Gaza is undergoing a modernity? Taliban taking over Afghanistan is modernity. Coup happening in Bangladesh, is that a modernity? Change is not modernity. What is the meaning of the word modernity? Change in lifestyle. Yeah, change in lifestyle came from Gaza for Bangladesh and for Afghanistan. Change in lifestyle came. Before they were eating rice, now they are eating that rice water. Step towards technology. Okay, what else? Some sort of, okay, right. Anything else? What is change? Or what is modernity, to be specific? Better thought process, better perspective. Good. What else? Sorry? Adaption of new culture can also be called as, not wrong. Anything else? Sorry? Maximum usage of resources. Okay, not wrong. Human development. In simple terms, the word modernity means disruption of a traditional past. The things that you were doing in your previous time, the things that you were doing in the name of traditionality, the things that you were doing in the form of a cultural norms, they have come to an abrupt end. Some new process or some new ideas have come into existence. So first of all, we see the word modernity means it is called to be as a substantial break from traditional past. This is a one-liner definition of what is meant by modernity. Modernity means it's a substantial break from the traditional past. And where do we see the first arrival of modernity? Today, have you ever wondered, have you ever thought, India was a colony. Why India did not create their colonies? Why were the Britishers were the ones who created colonies? Have you ever thought, you're reading history, right? Britishers came all the way from another continent. They came over here to India. They made India as a colony. Have you ever thought that why India did not create their colonies like how Britishers did? Let's try to extend this question. Why only not just Britishers, but the neighboring countries of British or the European society itself created the colonization all over the world? Why Asian countries did not create colonies? Why African countries did not create colonies? Why only Europe were the ones who started this process of imperialism, colonialism, domination? What is the reason why Europe was one step ahead? Anything? I'm asking why. You're telling me the phenomena. Monopoly is what they created. I'm asking why Europeans created colonies, why not other countries? Sorry? Europe was deprived of resources. Okay, so Europe had more population, so they deprived of resources? No, not really. Yes, anybody in the last, why do you think they created a white, we have this concept of no white race supremacy. The white race, That is what the Britishers always tells, white man's burden. This is what they have done. We are the ones who will create civilizations. We are the ones who will create development, etc. The question is why? Not because of deprivation of resources. Anything else? Thought process, good. Anything more? Humanistic nature, rational thoughts, what else? They were one nation. The concept of nation was not there only. Curiosity, good, good, nice. Anything more? Why Europeans were decades ahead? They were the ones who created dominations. They were the ones who created defense system. They were the ones who created navies at that time. What really made that? All these things is basically, it begins from 14th to 15th century. For hundreds and thousands of years, the dominating forces that was present, it was present as a form of traditions. It was present as an aspect of culture. It was seen as a phenomena of religion. This was the scenario that was the most dominating force. But in 15th century, Europe undergoes an important transformation. And that transformation is basically a spirit of inquiry. They started by asking, what is this? Questions. All the foundation of modernity, it basically starts by asking questions. Today, when you look at a small kid who is 3-4 years old, they will keep on asking questions, right? What is this? What is this? What is this? I remember when my daughter was 3 years old, initially she used to ask me, what is this? So I told her, a fan. The questions were very interesting. What is this fan? What is this light? What is this door? After 3-4 months, her vocabulary got exhausted. Now she is not asking, what is this? Now she is asking, why is this? One time she was sitting, she looked at her calendar and she like, what is this? So she was like, you know, what is that calendar? And she looked, why is February having 28 days? She asked me. So I told her, shut up and study. The question of what is easy to answer. But the question of why, there is something more depth to it. And the Europeans started to ask questions in the form of why. And they are telling, for hundreds and thousands of years, if we are believing in something called as religion, why are we believing in this concept of religion? Why do we need God when we ourselves are more capable of doing it? So in the 15th century, the first kind of that change that started to come is basically called to be as an Enlightenment period. Enlightenment is what? Some bulb is switched on in the minds of the people, and they started to ask questions that where is God? Who is God? Why are you taking the place of a God? They started asking the questions, and the authority of church becomes weak. The position of the Pope gets compromised. The domination of religion gets diluted. And from there onwards, slowly, different forms of changes have started to come. So the first change was associated with 15th century, and it was nothing but called to be as an aspect of Enlightenment period. What is happening? Is there any physical change that is happening in Enlightenment period? Is there any physical changes that are going to happen? And the answer is no. There is no physical change that you are going to see. The period of Enlightenment is all about ideological change. It's a change where people are bringing some new sets of ideas. What are these ideas? Whenever something comes to us, we will ask questions to it. Whenever something comes to us, we will put the spirit of inquiry to it. And if it stands on the spirit of inquiry, if it is able to give an answer, if it is sounding rational, then only we will accept it. If not, we will reject it. And they rejected tradition, culture, religion, and that's how Europe enters the first form of modernity. So here, in the Enlightenment period, in the 15th century, it was associated with the period of Renaissance. Now what happens? The Pope is becoming weak, the religion is becoming weak. Now people starts to question, and slowly, the population of the European society is also increasing. And with this increase of population, some people are telling, we want to see what is the other end of this ocean, because the European society could see big oceans around them. Take a look at Portugal, take a look at France, Spain, Britain. They could see the ocean and they never dare to get into the ocean. Why? Why they don't get into the ocean? Why nobody enters into the ocean? Because the earth is flat. The religion always told them that the earth is always flat. If you travel by the ocean, on the other end there is a cliff, you will fall and die. This is what the religion has been told. And if you travel by ocean, if you travel by sea, you will get out of Christianity. The same concept was also there in the Vedic culture as well. You're not supposed to travel by seas. So, after 15th century, now they are going to ask questions. Have you seen the edge of the world? Have you seen the end of the world? And there is an answer called as no. Let's try to go and find. So some group of people were looking for the end of the world, but they had seen the end of the ocean made them a discovery of new continents. And they were nothing but the voyagers of 16th century. In 16th century, after declining religion, after declining the authorities, they traveled by the sea. These voyagers, such as Christopher Columbus, discovers the Bahamas island of North America. He doesn't go to America, he goes to the Caribbean islands of Bahamas. Christopher Columbus travels it. A person travels all the way from Africa and he discovers the East Indies. And that is Vasco da Gama comes to Calicut. Here, the 16th century is all about bringing an aspect of commercial revolution. Why is it called to be as a commercial revolution? Why is it called as commerce revolution? Why? Because up till 16th century, whenever the money was produced, it was always produced by feudalism. It was always produced by agriculture. Crops, landlords, feuds were the ones who were responsible for producing money. Now here, a large amount of money is being produced by doing trade between different continents. When Vasco da Gama comes for the first time, and he goes back and he tells, our products are in huge demand. In fact, I have sold it at 60 times the price what I'm selling it over here. So you have to produce more now. And the reason why it is called as commercial revolution, it is because a huge amount of demand starts to come. New voyagers have established. These voyagers, they became so firm in these businesses, they started to establish companies. These companies will further go after 100 years. They will create British East India Company, Dutch East India Company, Portuguese East India Companies. So these voyagers later gets developed and they will establish companies. Some of them will make profits. Some of them will make loss. And when they will make loss, they want the kings to protect their losses. So what the kings will do? The kings will create an institution. If you are in loss, this particular system will take care, and they named it as banking systems. The Ferreira capitalism gets established. Why is it called as commerce revolution? Is because establishment of companies starts to come, establishment of banking system is coming, money is being produced beyond feudalism. So in 16th century, one important change that comes up is the aspect of commercial revolution. You can think with the voyagers who starts seeing the other continents. And then comes the 17th century. Now what happens? See, in life, there is never a vacuum. In your 10th class, all of you had a best friend, isn't it? You miss your school days. You miss your best friend. In the 10th farewell, you hugged your friend and you told, how will I stay without you? You cried, you hugged, how will I stay without you? I don't know how my life is going to be in inter, but in inter, again, you will start making some new friends. That one friend will be replaced by 3-4 friends in intermediate. You will start making some groups. In college, again, you are going to have some new sets of friends. Here, you will again create some new sets of friends. In life, there is never a vacuum. Somebody else will come and fill that space. The same way, in the society, once the religion was challenged, there was a vacuum that was created. And who will fill that space when there is a void of religion? And that void of absence of religion was basically filled with science. What does science does? Science is telling that if you are trying to find some logic and rationality, I will give you that. And this all begins with the father of modern science, and that is Copernicus. What does Copernicus does? He says that from hundreds and thousands of years, what the religion has been telling is absolutely wrong. What the religion says? What was Copernicus' theory? He falsified geocentric theory and he established the heliocentric theory. What was geocentric theory? The earth is the center of the universe. Copernicus does an experiment and he tells the earth is not the center of universe, the sun is the center of universe. This is what later on that theory also went wrong. He thought the solar system is the universe. So Copernicus has established a heliocentric theory. Now here, what happens? In 17th century, the Europe is undergoing an aspect of scientific revolution. Slowly, scientists are getting established and they are telling on the basis of logic and rationality, we are going to establish the new principles in the European society. Galileo takes a telescope and he gives the diagram of the solar system. Newton is establishing the laws of physics. William Harvey was a biologist. He does the first anatomy and he tells there is nothing called as soul in the human body. Religion has always kept on telling that there is something called as soul. If the soul is there in the human body, you are alive. If the soul is not there, you are dead. This is what the religion tells. After doing the first dissection, William Harvey tells there is nothing called as soul in the human body. We are alive because of arteries in the veins, the blood is flowing. There are numerous organs, they all work together. That is why, so slowly, science is replacing the religion. And here, Galileo, Newton, Copernicus, William Harvey, many other scientists have done their contribution. So, this is what is happening in the 15th century, 16th century, 17th century in the European society. So, 15th century was associated with the period of Enlightenment, popularly called to be as Renaissance. In 16th century, there was an aspect of commercial revolution. The 17th century is associated with scientific revolution. Now, interesting thing happens in 18th century. Up till 16th century, most of the wealth was concentrated with kings and the feudal lords, because the money was produced basically by agriculture. But after the commercial revolution takes a kickstart, the money from agriculture is reducing, and people are producing a large amount of wealth in the form of intercontinental trades. Once this trading system gets established, these people who are establishing the commercial revolution, who have established the company, they are getting a huge amount of wealth. What they do is, they are telling, we are making a lot of amount of wealth, why should we give large taxes to the kings? The rich people are telling, why should we give 20%, 30% of our profit to the kings? Let's try to weaken this monarchy system. See, when you have got a lot of wealth, no, at that time you will figure out different ways of saving your wealth. Why do Indian companies establish their headquarters in Mauritius, in Singapore, in Panama, somewhere? Have you seen this? In small island countries, they will establish their companies. Take a look at Amazon. Such a big market they have created in India, but do you know where is the headquarters of Amazon? They have established in Singapore. So here in 16th, 17th century, the commercial revolution, the rich people, they are telling, why should we give taxes to the king? Let's try to avoid that. What we will do is, we will try to weaken the king, and we will bring some new sets of ideas. And what did these rich people starts to do is, they start strengthening the common people. And these common people were basically called to be as commoners. And these commoners, they start revolting against the king, which leads to the collapse of monarchy, that leads to the collapse of the French rule. What happened in the 18th century is something important to be remembered. It is something which is associated with the French Revolution. If you go and read what French Revolution is all about, it is a society which has been divided into 3 estates. First estate is basically belonging to the king and the noblemen. The second estate is basically associated to the religious pope, clergies, the pundits of the European French society. And 96% of the society, the third estate, were basically called as commoners. Here, this is 96% of the society, 2%, 3% are basically. And in this society, if something needs to be decided, the Pope, the king will say, let's put to vote. One vote, one vote, one vote. Here, whatever they want, the first and the second estate will divide. They will decide 2:1, and we will decide. We'll take opinions in that way. The commoners are telling, we are 96% and you are only giving us one vote. We will go against the king. And they basically guillotined, they killed the Bourbon dynasty, King Louis XVI, and that is what went in bringing the aspect of French Revolution. So what change comes up in the 18th century? In the Europe, the monarchy was overthrown and the modernity comes in the establishment of democracy. All over the world, the French struggle for independence. The French is basically responsible as the foundation of democracy. Why? Because French society have fought for independence against the kings, not just one time in the year 1889. No. Sorry, 1789. It's not just for the one time that they have fought for independence in 1789. Once, twice, thrice, fourth, 5 times they have fought for independence. And that is the reason the foundation of democracy is associated with the French Revolution. And from there only we have taken our preamble. If you are talking about justice, equality, liberty, fraternity, it is all associated with the French Revolution. Now here, in the 18th century, what really happens? There is establishment of the French Revolution. And then, in the end of 18th century, in the starting of the 19th century, all these changes have made up an add-on, a culmination of these past 450 years. In the mid of the 18th century, in the starting of the 19th century, the whole society starts to see development. Once the kings have been thrown away and a democratic society has been established, development starts coming at a faster pace. It is associated with the onset of industrial revolution. Now here, this is what I want you to look at. For hundreds and thousands of years, the society was static. It was homogeneous in nature. Changes were not seen in a drastic manner. A very gradual and a slow society was seen. But after 15th century, the changes starts to pace up. It starts coming at a more faster way, and that is what there is a modernity or the emergence or the beginning of modernity in the European society. So basically we are talking about what was happening in the European society from 15th century onwards. It began with the aspect of Renaissance or the Enlightenment period. What change comes up in Enlightenment period? What is the change that comes up in Enlightenment period? What kind of a change it is? It is a form of a ideological change. Point to be noted. What is this ideological change? There is a spirit of inquiry. They will start asking questions. They will look for logic and rationality. This is the change that is brought by the Renaissance, 15th century. What was a change that was brought by the commercial revolution? What was the change that was brought by the commercial revolution? It basically weakened the feudal system. Money starts to be produced beyond agriculture. So here, there is agricultural saturation. Today, we divide the economy into 3 parts. Primary, secondary, tertiary. What is primary? Agriculture. What is secondary economy? Industries. This is where it begins. After here, in 20th century, the third sector is going to come, service sector. But right now, this is an emergence of a secondary sector. So whether you say agricultural saturation or what does the commercial revolution does, it has brought an aspect of secondary sector to the economy. This is where the change is coming. Primary sector, a new sector to the economy has been added. Scientific revolution, what change does it bring? What change was basically brought by scientific revolution? It replaced, the religion was replaced with science. So theology was replaced with theories. The religion was replaced with science. So here, scientific revolution has brought some changes which is seen to be as rationality. I am going to revise this once again. What are these points all about? Here I am writing the events, and here I am writing what are the changes which starts to come in the society. Commercial revolution has brought a secondary sector. Scientific revolution is basically bringing a rationality and logic in the society. What does the French Revolution brings as a change? It brings a change where there's a fall of monarchy, fall of kingship against democracy. So the change is basically brought as an aspect of democracy. Industrial revolution is a whole aspect which can be seen to be as a cultural change. It is an economic change. It is a cultural change. So here, in 18th century and in 19th century, we see there is an onset of industrial revolution. Please tell me what is happening in the European society in the past 400 to 500 years. The earlier society before the 15th century was considered to be as religious. It was considered to be as traditional. It was called to be as cultural. You can say this society believes in the aspect of status quo. What is the meaning of this word, status quo? Status quo means good, as it is. Whatever the things that is happening from the past, we will not bring much of a transformation to it. We will keep it as it is. So the previous societies were having these kind of central values to it. But when the 15th century came, there was an aspect of Renaissance. What change does the Renaissance brings? What change does it bring? It brings an ideological change where we get to see traditions is exchanged with the aspect of questioning. They will keep on asking questions, and the tradition, religion, culture, they cannot withstand. Whenever you ask a lot of questions, religion cannot withstand so many questions. And what do they say? You have heard it from your elders, practice it in that way. No more questions are not supposed to be asked. So in 15th century, we have got Renaissance. Can you tell me some people who are associated to Renaissance? Where do we call this period of Renaissance? Yes? The right word for that is Enlightenment period, but a popular word that we can use, both of them are right. Enlightenment or Renaissance. What is this all about? Have you seen this painting before? This painting? All of you have seen this, no? This painting? These not seen. You have not seen this painting? Not now, before. Okay. If you haven't seen it, no problem. You have not lost anything. Have you seen the painting of Mona Lisa? Yes sir, Mona Lisa, everybody has seen. Very beautiful painting. I'm still trying to figure out why is it the most beautiful painting. Yes ma'am, why is Mona Lisa painting is so beautiful? What is the reason? Somebody told me Mona Lisa painting is beautiful because she has no eyebrows. That is not supposed to look beautiful. Another student told me, sir, Mona Lisa painting is drawn in such a way, wherever you are standing, it looks like Mona Lisa is looking at you only. I went to home. My grandfather passed 5 years back. Now I am not doing any bad thing in the home. Because every time the grandfather, you look from there, it looks like he's watching you only. From you stand here, grandfather is watching you. So what did I do? I flipped the paint. Now it's okay. So the paintings which was done by Leonardo da Vinci, Mona Lisa, the one who drawn, the sculptures that was drawn or that was made by Michelangelo, the paintings of Raphael, all these paintings are basically trying to represent that there is an aspect of questioning associated to it. You keep on questioning, and 15th century it moved beyond Renaissance, and in 16th century it brought an aspect of commercial revolution. What is the phenomenon of commercial revolution? That things exchanged beyond agriculture and it moves towards an aspect of something is beyond agriculture, and that is how you can produce secondary sector. See, whenever the wealth is concentrated in one place and somebody else is making money, they will get a lot of attention. Today, there is a lot of attention given to cryptocurrency. Why? Why so much of attention is being given to cryptocurrency? Because look at the way how they are making money in a non-traditional manner. How everybody is making money from primary sector, secondary sector, service sectors, something in this way. But somebody is making money out of internet. Somebody is making money by burning electricity. That is how they make bitcoins, by burning electricity. So here, new way of making money, it was seen in the aspect of commercial revolution, and on the other hand, there was something called to be as scientific revolution. What scientific revolution brought? It basically replaced the religion with the aspect of logic and rationality. The logic and rationality is called as science. In 18th century, it was seen in the aspect of French Revolution. What was the change that was brought by the French Revolution? There was an end of monarchy with a new sets of ideas which was called to be as democracy. Today we talk about democracy, free will, freedom, etc. All this is basically starting from French Revolution. They have fought again and again. The third estate of the French Revolution have fought again and again in the favor of democracy. That is why France is called to be as the mother of modern democracy. The mother of democracy, or the ancient democracy, is associated to Athens, Greeks, but the mother of modern democracy is associated with French or France. In 19th century, or in the end of 18th century, it was an aspect of industrial revolution. What change was it brought? It has brought an aspect of holistic change. Here, it is called to be as a form of cultural change. So, if you talk about industrial revolution, this is what it does. If you look at the resources, before industrial revolution, the important resource was associated with land. Before industrial revolution, what was the most important resource? Land was the important resource. An example, agricultural field. After industrial revolution, the important resource shifted from land, and what became important? What was important in industrial revolution? It was an aspect of machines. For the first time, humans have been replaced by something else. Something else is going to make money. That is, machines are going to make money. So resources shifted towards goods, automation, machines, what we get to see. Locality. Before industrial revolution, people used to reside. Their localities was in the villages. It was called to be as the rural land. After the industrial revolution, the locality shifted from the rural, it started to move towards industrial centers. When these industrial centers expands, it will become like an urban centers. What am I talking? I'm talking about the changes, but the maximum change basically came in 19th century. These were the changes. Resources starts to take a new shape. Locality moves from rural towards urban. Look at the family structures. Families, they were present as joint families. Not just India. The European society also used to exist like a joint family. Rural society is always present like a joint family only. We are still in that phase. 150, 200 years back, Europe was under in that phase of joint families. But because of industrial revolution, there has been a fragmentation of the joint family system. It moved towards the aspect of nuclear families. The division of labor, how the work is done. Here, it was an aspect of sexual division of labor. What is the meaning of this word? Sexual division of labor. What is the meaning of division of labor? The work has been divided. And what is the criteria for dividing the work? Gender. The men will do the outside work, the women will do the inside work. Domestic worker, economic worker. So at that time there was a sexual division of labor. Here there is an aspect of neutral division of labor that starts to come in industrial revolution. Men and women, both of them start contributing. And lastly, the most important ideological change comes with the change in the value system. The value system is associated with collectivity. This point is important to be focused. The value system is based with collectivity. In the previous society, all the societies which are traditional, religious, cultural. This is what I'm talking about. All the societies which are religious, traditional and cultural. This is how they are going to look. And they will always talk about collectivities. Against collectivity, when the modernity comes, society will now speak about individualism. This is sociology. Collectivity will be exchanged with individuality or individualism. 10 years back, you have sat with your family and you have watched some movies. Collectivity. Together we will sit and we will watch some movie. Today hardly do you see families and sitting and watching movies together. First of all, movies are not like that. We can sit and watch. A top only you have to see 16 plus 18 plus, okay, fine. Now if you have seen, you will hold the remote in your hand and then you will watch it with your parents. Tuck, 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 right and left. You cannot watch only, but still today we are based more on individualism. And what is individualism? It is always about what I want. Here in collectivity, it is what all the society wants. I am a farmer, I want my son to be a farmer. I am a Brahmanical Pandit, I want my son to follow that being a Brahmanical Pandit. I have my own business, I want my son to continue that same business. It is all about collectivity, joint family system, sexual division of labor, rural societies. Agricultural, feudal societies, they are all associated with collectivity, but with modernity, individualism comes. And here, these factors are associated with the aspect of modernity. All these changes are basically brought by the aspect of what? By industrial revolution. And among all the changes, the most important and the most longest change is associated with industrial revolution. In fact, these revolutions have come to an end. Renaissance happened in 15th century, it stopped. Commercial revolution happened there, it came to an end. Scientific, French, industrial revolution, till now it did not come to an end. In mid 18th century it started, again 100 years industrial revolution is still following. Today, we are in the fourth phase of industrial revolution. We call that as Industrial Revolution 4.0. Digitalization, silicon technology, AI, machine learning are all associated to the fourth phase of industrial revolution. All the changes by industrial revolution are more drastic in nature. And here, in 19th century, industrial revolution, when it touched the peak, here, when industrial revolution touched its peak in 1850, a person comes and asks, Why the European society doesn't look familiar like how it was there hundreds of years back. A person comes in 1850s and he asks the question, why the European society looks so different? Why the religion which was so dominant? Where is the religion now? The church were having so much power. Why did they lost that power? The kings were so much in control. Why they have become so powerless now? The feudal landlords who had all the amount of wealth, where their wealth has gone? All these questions are being asked, why these changes have come. Who has brought these changes? What is the next change that is going to come? How these changes are affecting us? Where the society is going to go ahead? Is there a subject which can answer these what's, whys and whos? The questions were kept in the field of political science. The questions were kept in front of economics. All of them have some respective domains. But there was no subject which could give an answer in totality, and that led to the emergence or birth of a new subject called to be as sociology. And the person who asked this question, his name was Auguste Comte. So, what led to the emergence and beginnings of change in the European society in the last 500 years is what we are interested in. What happened before 500 years, we are not interested to know. That's a domain for the subject of anthropology, and the domain for sociology begins from 15th century onwards, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And this is what we are looking at, and this is how the picture looks. Different events have happened. It started from Renaissance, commerce and scientific revolution, and then democracy, industrial revolution. All these changes that we get to see is associated. And the person who asked this question becomes the father of sociology, Auguste Comte. What happens after 1850? We will take a short 5 minutes of break and then we'll continue. Okay. So, in the mid 19th century, the person who raises this question, Auguste Comte, following which a number of other people have raised a same question, but they have given some solution to it. Why Auguste Comte is not a popular figure is because his contribution is less. He has only asked that question and he left. And he was a religious person. He was basically a mathematician. Following after Auguste Comte, there are some other group of people who will act like founding fathers to this subject. Initially, this subject was called as social physics. Later on, after a few decades, they have transformed that name from social physics and it was called as sociology. Now, once this subject has been established, there will be an important role by the early contributors. They are called as the early contributors. They are called to be as the founding fathers. They are called to be as the generations of they have created some generations in sociology. We refer them to be as thinkers. Before I talk about what thinkers are, let me ask a question. Have you ever got a headache? Not now. Before. Have you ever got a headache? And what do you do for this headache? What do you do? Zandubam. Directly you will take a Zandubam and start putting upon a headache. Okay. Now, it depends with whom you are for this headache. If you have a headache and you go to a medical doctor, he will say you have a headache, okay, you take some Dolo, paracetamol, 500, something like that. You go to allopathic doctor, they are going to give you this prescription. You have a headache and you go to your grandmother or mother. She will not tell you take paracetamol or something. She will say, in Hindi, you translate this in Telugu. In Hindi, she will say, मेरे बच्चे को नजर लग गई है. What do we call it in Telugu? नजर लग गई है. Drishti. All drishti will come only for my kid. So she'll keep her hand on your forehead. She will read some mantras or what. After that, you will feel okay. So for the headache, when you go to an Ayurvedic doctor, he will take some jadi booties and he will crush the jadi booties, and this is how you are going to cure. If you go to a Baba, what will a Baba do? For a headache, he will take out some ash from the floor, he will put it on your forehead, tatas, she's gone. Something was there inside you and now you are all good. If you go to a friend with a headache, he'll say, Mama, it will work. On that we'll put Zendubam and then Zendubam will be more effective. So, for one problem, there are so many different solutions to it. For a grandmother, she's trying to give you a whole different solution to your headache. A medical doctor gives you a paracetamol. Somebody gives you a jari booty. You go to a homeopathic doctor, he will give you the sweet balls. This is the same thing. As different people have different perspectives to it, they create different kinds of solution. This is what, for one society, we have created different lens to see that society. And thinkers is not something which is unique to the subject of sociology. They are not unique to it. In every field, there are some important contributors. If we are talking about arts, sociology is a subject of arts, social science. Which subject is called as the mother of all arts? Which subject is called as the mother of social sciences? It is called to be as, maybe you like history. History is not the answer. It is philosophy. Philosophy is called as the mother of all arts, because this is where people will start creating ideas. All social science subject is based on ideas. And to the field of philosophy, we have got some contributors, such as we have got Socrates. In the field of, we have got, who else is there? We have got Plato, we have got Aristotle. If you're talking about some modern philosophers, we have got René Descartes, etc. Machiavelli is there, etc. In the field of political science, you're familiar with this subject, political science, Lakshmikant. All the ideas that you are talking in democracy, basically they are associated to the domain of political science, and every idea has been contributed by some individual or by some group of philosophers. In polity, we read something called as separation of powers. What is this concept, separation of powers? Democracy came against monarchy. In monarchy, there is always concentration of power. The king will decide what is right, what is wrong. And in democracy, there is never a concentration of power. There is always separation of power. And we see that as legislative, executives, judiciary. This was an idea brought by a philosopher, Montesquieu. So when we are talking about the field of political science, there are multiple contributors who are present, such as Montesquieu is an important philosopher. Any other philosopher? That, yes, we have got Voltaire, we have got Jan Jacques Rousseau, we have got John Locke. Today we are talking about fundamental rights, isn't it? There is a right to life. There is a right to property. There is a right to liberty, free speech. These ideas was basically brought by John Locke in his book, Right to Life, Liberty and Property. Now when we are talking about the subject of philosophy, the subject of political science, if you are speaking about the subject of religion, Descartes, Friedrich Ludwig, there are some important contributors. In the same way, in the field of sociology, there are some thinkers who have been there. And what is their role? They are going to provide a unique, specific, and a defined perspective. And they are not like us. Today we are going to have one opinion, tomorrow there is a different scenario, they will create a different opinion. It's not like that. One thinker is established with one type of lens. And whatever scenario comes, they are going to put the same kind of lens in every situation. And what are these perspectives? These thinkers are known for the lens that they are contributing to the society. And for example, if I'm talking about a thinker called as Karl Marx, no matter what the situation is, his view will be called to be as an economic view. There are different words that you are going to find in the book. Either you will find the word economic view, you will find the word dialectical view, materialistic view, all are one and the same. He is basically talking about the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor people. He doesn't see the society being divided in race, caste, ethnicities, gender, region, religion. All these dimensions are blind to Karl Marx. He only divides society on economic ways. Either you are a rich person or either you are a poor person. And that view is called as economic determinism. So one thinker is Marx. His view can also be called to be as Marxian view. Either the Marxian view is Marx, or all the students or people inspired by Karl Marx are also called as Marxian views. And there is a large branch that is being created in this Marxian view. Stalin, Lenin, Mao Zedong, different communist ideologies, different socialistic ideologies, all of them are categorized under the shadow of Marxian view. So Marx starts his economic view and it is further keep on modified. They are known to be as Marxian views. The second thinker is Emil Durkheim. This person is a very optimistic kind of a person. He never sees something bad in the society. Whatever is there, it is something good that needs to be contributed. COVID-19 has come. Was it a good thing or a bad thing? You will say it was a bad thing. Yes. A logical answer will be it was a bad thing. But when you are putting a Durkheim's view, you have to say how COVID-19 was a good thing. If that phenomena was there was something important thing that COVID-19 was contributing to the society. Can anybody tell me any good thing about COVID-19? Sorry? Digitalization. Yes, more digitalization came. Many classes are double the size at online platforms. What else? Yes? Population control. Population increased after COVID-19. He didn't give that answer. Okay. Yes? Savings increased. I put 20% of my savings in Maggi noodles in COVID-19. And biscuits. Yes. Family. Made friends. Okay. She made a lot of friends. Online friends. So, good. Anything more that happened in COVID-19? You were telling something. Yes? You were telling yes. Yeah, decrease. Okay, fine. I'll be safe side. Decrease pollution, sir. Pollution decrease. Same answer, no? Okay, pollution. Okay, fine. There are many good things that happened in COVID-19. People became more scientific, digitalization. We are not here to talk about, but according to Durkheim's view, everything has got something positive to contribute, and this positive contribution is basically called to be as a functional view. Yesterday we discussed this question: what is the functional perspective of a religion in a pluralistic society? One question that we discussed. And what was the word? Functional. Function means you have to say what function does it play for the society. Religion, it is providing a function of uniting the people. Religion is providing a function of giving an identity, of making hope, etc., etc. In the same way, Durkheim is a person who provides the functionalist perspective. Whenever this word is going to come and they will add the word functional, you have to start thinking what are its contribution good for the society. A person dies by suicide, good thing or a bad thing? Durkheim will say it's a good thing. When I'm discussing Durkheim, at that time we'll discuss how it's a good thing. And he's not talking nonsense. He is going to make some logical arguments over there. On the other hand, Durkheim is also called to be as the first generation sociologist, the person who develops sociology in an academic manner, the person who establishes sociology in universities like a discipline is Max Weber. And he says we need to interpret. His view is basically called to be as interpretational sociology. He wants to analyze every scenario in three different ways: traditional, charismatic, logic and rationality. And on his analysis, he talks about an important topic called as bureaucracy. So up till here, Karl Marx, Emil Durkheim, Max Weber, the sociology is basically roaming around the European society only. This guy contributing from UK, this guy contributing from France, this guy contributing from Germany. For the first time, sociology gets out of a European society and it has been taken up by Talcott Parsons, the first American sociologist. And he interconnects different systems and creates a theory of social systems. Complex, difficult to understand topic written by Talcott Parsons. His view is called to be as structural functionalism, because Talcott Parsons is a mixture of Durkheim and Weber. If you want a formula, Parsons is equal to Weber plus Durkheim. This is the formula. Both the views are combined. That is called to be as Parsonian's view. It is called to be as Parsonian's view. This is called to be as a Weberian view. Durkheim's view is called as functionalist. Durkheim's view, functionalist, is commonly used with him. Now, in our syllabus, beyond these four thinkers, we also have a thinker called to be as R.K. Merton. And then we have got a person called to be as Mead. So these are the 6 thinkers that we are having, and let's try to take a look. I'm not going to talk much in detail, but the first thinker what we are having is Karl Marx. Okay? Beautiful? Good? He looks good, right? I don't know why I like him, his beard and everything. Only that cigarette is missing. 19th century, everybody, you look at all the philosophers, with smoke only the thinking process will come. Not just smoking, with some nice masala, then only they can think. Marx is one person. All of you have heard about him. Yes. Before we begin to talk about who exactly this guy is, why should we study Karl Marx? Why should we study Karl Marx? Yes? No. No, no, no. Because he has given nice ideology. No. Yes? Any answer? Why should we study Karl Marx? To get good marks. Isn't it? It's a poor joke, but it's a nice joke. You have to study Karl Marx because he's there in your syllabus. And yes, any reasons what Karl Marx, why is he famous? Of his ideology. What is that ideology? Tell me things that you have heard with Karl Marx. Just tell me, sir, this is related to Karl Marx, what we have heard. Anybody in the last? Karl Marx is, we have seen that this guy is somewhat related to anything? Yes. One thing, good. He is somewhat linked with this word capitalism. Anything more? I will put all those words. Anything more Karl Marx is associated with? Is associated with not communalism, is associated with? Okay, communism. I heard, yeah. Okay. Communism. What more? Karl Marx is associated with this word capitalism. He is associated with this word communism. What more? Any other word? Think, do some brainstorming. Go to your NCRT's school days. How do we think about this person? Yes, he is also associated, okay. People associate him with socialism. People associate him with strong ideology. In fact, Karl Marx is labeled as the philosopher of the second millennium. Socrates was given that label before. Philosopher of a millennium. The same thought is, the philosopher of next millennium is called as Karl Marx. His ideology has influenced every continent on this world. Define rules. Okay, book. Anything more Marx is associated with? He is also associated with something called as inequality, equality. Marx is also associated with something called as labors. Yes, he is also associated with something called as class. This word he uses a lot. Class. Class is a group of people. What are these group of people? We'll talk a little bit later about it. Marx in the European society, his idea is very simple. His idea is quite easy to understand. See, if somebody is popular, no, they are never a complex persons. They will give you some idea and it is very easy to understand. If Marx is able to influence every continent on the earth, that is because his idea is very simple to understand. He tells all the problems which are there on this earth. These problems are basically associated to one common factor, and that is capitalism. All the problems. If you're talking about women problems, if you're talking about poverty problems, if you're discussing about slums, corruptions, all the forms of inequality, every problem is associated to capitalism, and capitalism is founded on something which is called to be as inequality. And initially, he did not give the idea of communism. In fact, when he has highlighted that if you're thinking the problem is capitalism, then what do you provide as an alternative? See, when you're telling something is wrong, you also need to provide some solution to that, what is wrong. So when he was criticizing capitalism, the inequality, as a solution, he offered solution to all these problems is something where we create the aspect of communism, and communism is on the essence of equality. I know it is an oversimplification, but this is the whole idea that the Marx is trying to present. The capitalism is the essence or the foundation of all the inequalities and the problem, and against that we need to establish something called as communism, and that is going to be in the form of equality. And who this person is? Karl Marx was a person belonging to a middle class family in the German society. His father was a hard-working person, and in the early days of his life he has seen some hardships, some poverty he has witnessed. Having no money, he was struggling a lot, but he had a very good friend to him. That friend is going to come a little bit later in his life, but as he was staying in the German society, he was doing one kind of a profession, and that he was basically a journalist. As a journalist, for all his personal hardships, he was trying to relate the other people's hardship as well. If I am suffering from poverty, there are many people like me who are also suffering. Can I do something for these problems? Yes, I can write about it. And with this writing, he started to criticize the Prussian government. Today, we call that as German government. He started to criticize the Prussian government, and the German government gives him a warning that you cannot write these kind of articles. But he doesn't stop. After 2-3 warnings, he was thrown outside of Germany and he was sent to another country, that is Belgium. In Belgium, he finds some of his like-minded people who are ready to criticize capitalism, and over there he joins a group and he creates a friend for his life, that is Friedrich Engels. All the contributions that you are going to read about Karl Marx, they are never individually done by Karl Marx. In fact, if you see any of the Marxian contribution, it is with Friedrich Engels. Whether you read Communist Manifesto, read Zedong, you read Das Kapital, all of them are written by Marx and Engels. And in Belgium, he does friendship with the Hegelian group, and Friedrich Engels and Karl Marx are there together from then onwards. And from Belgium, again he continues to criticize the Belgium and the German government. He was thrown and there he went to France. And after criticizing the French government itself for the rest of his life, he stays in London. And over there, as a journalist, he writes for a New York newspaper. And he has written on number of different issues. He has written important 4 to 5 books, and he has published 350 articles. So on the basis of 6 books and around 350 plus articles, we try to understand who exactly Karl Marx is. So the Marxian perspective is basically around his movement from Germany to Belgium, Belgium to France. Finally, he stays in London for the rest of his life. Today, his home is also made as a Marx museum, and on these 6 books, and with the contribution of Friedrich Engel, he starts. Karl Marx was a poor person. He had 6 children from his wife and 1 illegitimate child from his maid. All these 7 children were taken not by Karl Marx but by his friend. Imagine having a friend who takes care of your babies also. Marx was so poor that Friedrich Engel used to provide money to all his 7 children. And together they used to write. And what was these writing all about? It is there in the books and the articles, and the person who inspired Karl Marx can be seen as follows. These 4 people together have contributed in creating a Marxian perspective. And among these contributions, one important person, what we are having is, remember with this, no? Okay. One of the important contribution has been done by Adam Smith. On the other hand, we have a famous economist called as David Ricardo. But among this, there is a German philosopher called as Hegel and Rousseau. All these 4 people together have created a Marxian perspective. And what exactly Karl Marx was trying to say, let's take a look at it. Marx is telling, I'm just giving you an outline of what is the syllabus all about. I'm just creating a story for you to understand. Marx says all the problem is because of capitalism. We need to overthrow this system. We need to abolish this system. And to overthrow something, he needs to explain that this is something which is not natural. It came in a process. Capitalism is not a natural phenomena. It was something that was developed by the early human beings. So he creates a story which explains the formation of capitalism. This explanation which establishes capitalism, it is called to be as historical materialism. What is the meaning of the word historical materialism? In history, somewhere a materialistic world was created. And this story is explaining from here the capitalism came. And what problem are we having in capitalism is the way how things are produced. Things are produced on the basis of inequality. So he has got a problem with the mode of production. So the next theory, what we have, he is having a problem how the things are produced. So he's criticizing, and he tells, first he's going to tell a story. Then he is going to tell, I have a problem how the things are produced with the mode of production. And with this problem, there is something that I see that is growing like a disease. The people are suffering. And this disease is basically called to be as an aspect of alienation. Now capitalism is there, growing and growing. I have a problem with this mode of production. The people are suffering with a disease called an alienation, and I need to provide you some solution for that. And that solution is you have to go and fight. That is nothing but called to be as class conflict, class struggle. And once the class struggle comes into action, it will create a warfare. Out of that warfare, we will be able to achieve something called as communism. So Marx has got a whole idea which is simple to understand. All the problems, deficiencies, poverty is because of the establishment of a concept called as capitalism. It is based on inequality. We need to establish something which is on the basis of equality. So to explain capitalism, he creates a story, historical materialism, and in this, capitalism is creating an inequality for how things are produced, the mode of production. Out of this mode of production, the suffering is seen among the have-nots or the poor people, which is called as alienation. For the solution to the problems of capitalism, there will be a warfare as a class struggle, which will eventually lead to the concept of communism. And these are the theories of Karl Marx that we are going to look at. What is the meaning of the word historical materialism? What is mode of production, alienation, and class struggle? All of them are not four theories. All of them is just one theory. UPSC has just broken into four different parts. So that's it in our today's class. So what have we looked up? Just a small okay. In the first session, we have tried to address the three fundamental questions of what exactly sociology is all about. In that lecture, we simplified the syllabus and we say sociology is about studying the sets of institutions. We looked up at some of the bubble. These bubbles are going to be seen as nothing but an explanation of what the syllabus is all about. So we look at the syllabus of paper 1. We looked at the syllabus of paper 2, and we also spoke about why to take a look at sociology with some UPSC perspective. We try to understand why to take sociology with some non-UPSC perspectives, and then we also looked up how to cover what are the important books and the resources that we are having, and then we take a look at some previous year questions: poverty, social exclusions, function of religion, how do you see the changing patterns in the kinship system. And in our today's class, we have tried to understand what the scope of sociology, the beginning, different events which has happened in the European 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th and 19th century, and then what exactly are thinkers. Every subject is going to have some thinkers. The 6 thinkers here are Marx, Weber, Durkheim, etc. And who exactly is Karl Marx? In our next class, we will be speaking about Karl Marx and his theories. If you have any questions, you can come and ask. Okay? And if there are any doubts, you can contact me on my number. You can contact me over here in the AKS office as well. I will be available. And all the best and have a nice day.